my name is Lauren Hollows, and I am back for part 3 of my interview with Tamara Simon. If you haven't checked out parts 1 and 2, jump into the links below, and I highly recommend that you do that. We have been talking all about small business challenges in these last 2 episodes, both the RTO kind of specific ones and more broadly how small businesses do need that kind of support. And that is why I'm here with the lovely Tamara, because that is her specialty. So Tamara, for our last one, I wanted to give you a little bit of a curly cue. So what is one thing that our industry isn't talking about, but should be?
So there's probably a few things, but I would challenge RTOs where they tell me that their point of difference to every other RTO is they offer quality training and great customer service. Because here's my answer to that. I expect that as a customer. So what else have you got?
Fair.
Right? And I get that that's a little bit challenging, right? And I've had these conversations, but you've got to think about it, right? As a customer of a business, I expect great customer service. Now, does everyone deliver on it? Of course not, right? But that's not your point of difference. Similarly,
right? That's a benchmark.
Well, it's just
That's
what
like
should
saying my
happen.
business is legal.
Yeah, exactly, right? And if we talk RTOs about quality of training, do you think I'm going to purchase a dodgy training? My expectation is, of course, it's that. Now, again, does everyone deliver that? No, they don't, right? But it's a bit like if you go into the bakery and the sign says baked fresh daily, immediately my brain and everyone else's will actually question and go, well, I wouldn't have thought that it wouldn't be, but, oh, hang on, is that right? So let's not have a cognitive disconnect immediately that puts us, elsewhere. Right? So I can look at just about every RTO website and I will see them look exactly like everyone else's for starters. So all you're doing is showing how you are the same as your competitor instead of how you're different. The second is they talk like the customer already understands accredited training, qualifications, short courses, competency standards. They're not,
No.
right?
No.
RTOs, to me, deliver how you get a job, how you keep a job, and how you might get a better job or skills. That's the three. It's it's attain, retrain, and maintain.
Yeah.
Right? If you nail it down.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, that makes actually, you know what? I've actually never heard that, but yes, that makes a lot of sense.
Right? So and I don't care whether that's accredited training, PD, or whatever. That's what the business is about.
Yeah.
Right? So we've got to have RTOs now start to think and say, okay, what problem are you solving? And it's not training. That's just the vehicle, right? Just like my vehicle is through coaching and through speaking, right? But if I use myself, the problems I solve are frustration, confusion, and overwhelm.
Yeah.
Right? So I would be saying to RTOs, if you had to build your business again, firstly, would it look like it does now? And I'm sure the answer is no, because it's quite complicated. Right? Your files, if we just take it to the basic level, your file structure probably would not be like it is.
Yeah. No.
Right? Takes 10 hours to find something. There's duplicates, triplicates, and everything else, right? But are you actually, we know that there's less than 5 seconds when someone lands on your website to get them. Okay? And we talked in episode 2 about complexity. And if you add, I do business and nursing and aged care and childcare and this and that, whatever, our brains immediately go too hard because choice complicates the sale.
And you're speaking to too many different people at the same time as well.
Correct, right?
Yeah.
So I'm okay if you've got multiple bits of scope, but what should be happening on that top banner in the website is you need to talk to me as the customer immediately, right? So it might be that you work with individual students and businesses and maybe business owners, right? Look, we know that people generally fall into 2 or 3 categories, right? So even just the bits at the top can be, are you a student or an individual, or are you a business? And then I've got, and that's where those web pages are going to go, because the language is going to be different, right? But even more so, it's how can you group? Because if you add 50,000 things to your scope, you're making it harder to get the customer to buy, particularly if they don't know what they want. If they're just going, oh, I think I'd like to I like kids, so maybe
I want something new. I want a new career.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So you've got to talk in that language.
Yeah.
But if I've got too much here, I go, oh, too hard. So can you segment your boxes into industry sectors, or, you know, and group things so it's easy, even if there's multiple boxes, which I generally would try and condense. But if you can't, at least give me some boxes, right?
Yeah,
but,
I mean, like if you're talking to an employer, or if you're talking directly to a student, or if you're talking to the parent of a student, or if you're talking to a vet coordinator, all of those are going to be looking for very different things.
That's right.
When you're speaking to them, even about the same qualification,
correct,
they're all going to be looking for something very different, and they're all going to have a much different understanding of the vet sector as a whole.
Correct, right? So I think that what happens is, and we all do it in our own businesses in different ways, but particularly RTOs, is that we're so caught up in training language, we forget which customer we're talking to. You know, so it's how can you...
There's a fear as well. I think that because of that, like audit fear, because maybe, for example, you've had a previous audit and they've gone, well, you didn't explain what the amount of training was in your marketing or on your website page, but you then go, we've got to make sure we have those keywords of amount of training and duration of training and volume of learning, and and that's a real challenge, I think, for RTOs, is like, how do you speak to all of those people at the same time in the right way?
Yeah, and I think there's a difference between, you know, put in my view, and I'm no longer the compliance person, right? So put that caveat on it. But it's looking at, you know, put the volume of learning in those things. You put it in the TAS, but people don't know what that is. So it's going to be something like, you'll attend our training and it's going to be delivered this much online, this much face-to-face. The qualification will take between 6 months and 12 months, depending. Like, you can still do the same thing.
That's my favorite part. Like, what does training look like? You know, if I show that to a student or a parent or whoever, they understand what I'm like. Okay, so like, when do I have to physically be there? How long do I have to physically be there? What do I have to do outside of the course? Like, that's what does the training look like is all good. And then yes, in the TAS, we're maybe writing more for auditors and for trainers and for people with vet knowledge.
Absolutely, right? So I remember years ago, I was speaking at a VELG conference. I was talking about the student handbook, right? And I said, so here's a radical idea. So the question I posed was, so how many people believe that students read the student handbook? No hands go up, because they don't, right? How many people have done a student handbook for compliance? Right? And I go, really? So if that's what's driving you, then we've missed the point, right? And this comes back to thinking like a business, right? So yes, there's
all of my RTOs. I'm like, why don't you have a YouTube page, especially if your market is male, right? Why do you not have a YouTube page and you break each of your policies into like a 30-second statement on, like, you know, do you have a complaint? Right? Check out this link. Do you want to disagree with an assessment outcome? Check out this page. You know, need some extra help? Check out, like, 30-second videos. Is what your students nowadays, for the vast majority of them, are going to respond to, as opposed to, please read this 96-page booklet.
Exactly, right? So if we know that it's not being looked at, but they're ticking on the enrollment form that I've read it, right? So let's really look at what that is. So strip the student handbook back, because, you know, my logic is that it's split into a few parts. The first part actually is just tell me what I have to know. How much does it cost? The who, what, when, where, how, why, before I sign on the dotted line and give you my money. That's that first bit, right? Then we've got, let's say, the enrollment part of it. So now tell me about a USI and all the documentation you've got to give me, and how long it's going to take and all of that sort of stuff. And then once the enrollment actually goes through and we've got your money or funding or whatever it is, then the third part is welcome to training at our RTO. right? Here's how you log into the student management system. Here's the bit about compliance. Here's about how the training's going to occur. And, you know, it's just and that is all actually the student journey, right?
Yes.
And that is just showing it's still auditable, but what it's doing is saying, I'm absolutely focused on my customer, which is the student, and I'm not going to overwhelm them. And I want to know and make sure that they know what they're doing before they sign up. Right. So I think, you know, if we're talking about what should RTOs be talking about that they're not, I think it's, well, what business are you actually in? Right. And what if you looked at your business differently? Right. Which relates to a whole number of things that we've talked about over these 3 episodes. But if you just keep doing the same thing, not only is there maybe not profits, but there's staff issues and all that sort of stuff. But it's thinking about things differently. And the pushback probably is, I don't have time to do that tomorrow. Yeah, okay, that's your choice, right? But if nothing changes, nothing changes. So if you want to choose to spend your time fixing mistakes, firefighting, band-aiding, all of those type of things, or actually go, you know what, let's spend a day or two and just relook at it. Imagine if they answered that question of, if you built the RTO again today, would you do it in the same way? Of course, the answer is going to be no. Of course it is.
Yeah, I can't think of a single one that would be like, absolutely, yes, 100%. I wouldn't make any changes whatsoever. Honestly, I cannot think of a single RTO,
Yeah.
even the good ones.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm not talking about continuous improvement. I'm just talking about, would the file structure be changed? Would you still have the same courses running? Would you still have the same target market? Have you defined that?
The same student management system, the same website, the same SharePoint, the same document management system, like all of those sorts of things.
Yeah. So have you built on strong foundations? If we go back to what I spoke to you about in episode 1, right? That to me is the stuff talking about, because I don't want to see people working in RTOs who will tell me I'm so overworking in RTO land. Yeah. Right. And we've all seen that. Right. So if you don't like, it's on the back of my book cover. If you don't like compliance and don't like change, don't work for an RTO or B1, because that's fact. Right.
Yeah. That's true.
That's the space we play in. So if you don't like that, that's maybe the first thing, right? Yes, we need to provide feedback about compliance and different things. Absolutely. But it's the space you play in, and it is a choice, because you can go and do PD and you don't have this.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think there's some, you know, maybe that's my tough love questions to be thinking about, because, you know, I don't want people going, I'm so over it, because that's usually my question. So why are you here?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. No, completely agree with it. All right, guys. Well, that is the thing that we should be talking about and are not with Tamara Simon. You can check out videos 1 and 2. You can check out Tamara's website. You can check out all the PD that she's offering and the sessions that she's got coming up. You can check out her website and her LinkedIn profile. Tamara, it was a pleasure to speak to you. I love talking business as much as I love talking RTOs. So thank you so much, very much for your time. Guys, do go and check it out, because honestly, from a business perspective, you know, business is as important as RTO compliance, and we don't spend enough time on it. So go and check out all of her stuff. If you guys disagree with anything we said, by all means, duke it out, but do so respectfully. If you've got any questions, drop them below, and we are more than happy to like, subscribe, do all of those good things. Otherwise, thank you so much again, Tamara, for your time. My name is Lauren Hollows for Anawaya Education Services.